Let's talk about how the Black narcissistic mother parentifies her daughter while infantilizing her son, and why, and what it has to do with you if you're a Black woman on a spiritual healing journey. Hi, I'm Dani Ellison. I'm a reparenting coach for Black women, and I help them recover from maternal narcissistic abuse. And today I'm stepping a little bit out of my lane to address a topic that involves Black men. I tend to avoid that for many reasons, but this particular message has been on my heart and mind. So I would like to get it out because I do have compassion for the little boys that Black men once were when they were abused, the same as I do for Black women and the little girls that represent their inner children. So I hope that this message will shed light on a dynamic that perpetuates a lot of pain, a lot of trauma in our community, and facilitates some healing. So let's get into it. In a household with a Black narcissistic mother, where there's both a female and male child, mom will typically bully her daughter while coddling her son. Mom typically bullies her daughter because while she projects all of her own perceived positive traits onto her, that also causes her to resent her daughter and be jealous of her. So the vicious cycle ensues. The reason that she coddles her son is because she projects onto him all of the qualities that she desires in a father figure, in a partner, and all of the idealized characteristics that she may have once perceived in his father. So typically, the reason that we talk so much about the Black mother around here is because the Black father is absent. And that absolutely plays into this dynamic. And it is the reason why we're talking about what mom's true motive is for coddling her son. So, on the surface, it may not seem like such a bad thing that mom dotes on her son. But when we're talking about a narcissistic parent, there is an insidious underside to that dynamic that might go unnoticed. So, the true reason that the narcissistic mother coddles her son is because deep down she wants to keep him for herself. In her role as his parent, she completely forgoes developing him in such a way that he will grow into a capable, responsible, desirable partner, father, upstanding citizen, employee, all of the different facets that come along with being an adult and a functioning member of society. She actively and passively neglects this development in him because she's hoping that if she keeps him her little boy, that he will never leave the nest and he'll never choose to sever his connection with her. She's hoping that ultimately he will choose to love her more than any other woman in his life, and that by centering her in his life, he will heal her abandonment wounds with her father, lovers, his father, and any trauma that may exist around being abandoned by men. This process can start really early. And at first, it might sound like mom telling her 5, 6, 7 year old how fine he's going to be and what a heartbreaker he'll be, how all the girls and the women are going to want him. So, projecting onto him that he is going to be this sexual object of attraction for women. However, as he grows older, she intentionally neglects developing a capacity in him that would actually make him an attractive or beneficial partner to a woman. And mom knows this. Her goal is to appear to be supportive of his romantic development and branching off into a life of his own. while secretly working behind the scenes to sabotage any true development he might have, especially anything that looks like a successful launch from the nest. Unfortunately, because fatherlessness is such an epidemic in our community, this relational dynamic is often where we see emotional incest come into play. And that can range on a spectrum that includes, on the light end, using her son as a therapist buddy, draining him of emotional supply, requiring him to prop her up emotionally and take on a sense of responsibility for her emotional well being. If you're the daughter of a narcissistic mother, this should sound familiar because she does the same thing to daughter, just in the reverse. On the darker end of this spectrum, this is where we see moms actively sabotaging relationships that her son might have, especially with women that make her feel threatened, women who might actually cause him to leave the home and not return to go start a family independent of her. And this is where a game comes in that mom and son like to play together. Okay, so I want to draw our attention to this because it is incredibly common. It's a common trap that Black women get caught in, and you experience this game as meeting the mother of your narcissistic partner. So I like to think of it as get out in reverse. As son develops, mom and sister, auntie, grandma, cousins, any of the women that are a part of the network and the family will cast this attractive feminine masculine out into the world to attract women, love bomb her, emotionally invest her in a relationship, even though this man, remember, has been coddled by his mother since birth and lacks a skill set, experience, capacity, emotional maturity, critical thinking, experiential knowledge that would make him a viable adult partner to a woman. But they cast him out and encourage him to establish relationships with women and bring them home to meet them. They bring this good woman into this network of women who, if they're truly vicious, begin to befriend the girlfriend and encourage her to let her guard down. This starts off with them being very, very nice, welcoming. They treat you like family. They're interested in knowing who you are. They want to talk. They want to get you to share about your childhood, where you come from, get them to understand who you are as a person, all the while feeding you little tidbits of approval and excitement and interest. The entire time, mom, sister, auntie, whoever's in on it, they're just reeling you in so that you are on the hook and vulnerable to be blindsided by an emotional attack that will take place in front of everyone that you will not be expecting. So this whole time, while son was getting to know you, while he was love bombing you, while he was promising you a future and making you believe that he was such a nice guy, the whole time he was observing you and reflecting your character back to you, but he was noticing, wow, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's funny, she's confident, she's outgoing. My mom is going to tear her up. I cannot wait to watch my mother destroy her the way that she destroyed me. Okay, that's what's at the root of this. So, because son has been infantilized, his dynamic with mother, the cycle of abuse that they go through, is one in which son is codependent on her by force and then later by choice. Mom withholds slash neglects developing son's financial, emotional, mental capacity. She allows him to entertain himself. She allows him to experience the benefits and the pleasures of adulting without actually doing any of the work and taking on any of the responsibility, so that he never feels propelled to get out there and make a way for himself. Why do that when he can drive mom's car and then sit up in his room and play video games and listen to his music and be with his friends and have his life the way he wants it without having to work hard for anything on his own? And while he enjoys those benefits, at the very same time, when he looks out at the world, when he sees sister over there who has developed these skill sets and had these experiences, has created these options, and is navigating a way out, he becomes resentful and angry because he's emasculated. He doesn't have that same development to fall back on. He lacks a masculine example in the household of what it looks like, feels like, sounds like to be a masculine man. And because mom, just like she did you, daughter, has emotionally attacked and sabotaged him, he doesn't have the tools or feel comfortable to bring this up. He doesn't know how to talk about it. He doesn't know how to ask for help. So he feels like a helpless victim. He feels powerless, like a child. He doesn't know how to take any control over his circumstances and create the life that he wants because agency is being withheld from him. Essentially, mom has placed her son in the sunken place so that she can hang on to him. And while on the outside looking in, it may seem that mom is an affectionate, loving mother who wants to do for her son, truly, son is being held hostage by a mother who lacks boundaries and emotional maturity. So, because son needs mom and resents her at the same time, he's not able to directly express his negative feelings towards her because he needs her. He's dependent upon her. And if he were honest about how he really felt about her, it would sever the relationship. It would trigger a cycle of punishment because mom is a narcissist. So if he were to tell the truth and try to stick to his guns and establish boundaries, she would punish him into submission. And remember, she has established financial control as well as emotional and mental control over him. So he really has to fight to dig his way out of this sunken place that she's confined him to. So because he both needs and resents her, instead of surfacing his true feelings in his relationship with his mother, he keeps them to himself and lives his real life behind her back, where he takes those feelings out on, that's right, you guessed it, you, the innocent, good woman that he's out here attracting and dating to validate himself, even though there's a high probability that this man has a man of his own. Okay, this is the origin story of the feminine masculine within the Black community. He's a boy who grew up without a masculine father figure in the home to imprint on, who was looped in with mom and sister and auntie and cousin, so grew up being one of the girls and resents the idea that he has to be this selfless provider when women just get to sit up and live what looks to him like the high life. In this way, he is made feminine, whether that's limited to, say, financial impotence or ranges all the way to being on the DL or maybe even openly homosexual in his family. In this way, he is made feminine, even if that only manifests as something like financial impotence or ranges all the way to something like being on the DL. Wherever this feminine masculine falls on the spectrum, he does not have the option of being one of the girls. The closest that he can come is to use his masculine qualities to attract a good woman and sacrifice her to the coven that is his family of narcissistic women. When he first meets you and love bombs you, this could sound a lot like future faking, promising you marriage, family, happiness, whatever your dreams are, he'll project them right back to you. This could also sound like trying to get you pregnant or moving the relationship on too quickly. An early indication of this will be his suggestion that you meet his family, aka his mother, way too soon in the relationship. Okay, if you are unsuspecting, you will simply light up at the idea that your boyfriend wants you to meet his mother and allow these women in his family to come friend you up simply because you're the new girlfriend. If you are successfully commandeered and brought into the family dynamic, the benefit that he experiences is a temporary high. He gets to sit on the energetic throne of being the one who has attracted you and brought you in and delivered you over to his mother as emotional supply. Your presence in the household or in the family dynamic takes the heat off of him for a little bit and allows him to normalize his experience of being traumatized by his mother because he gets to sit back and watch you experience the same abuse. So you see how when you don't do the work of going no contact with the narcissist, you slowly become them. You learn to abuse in the same manner that the narcissist does because it makes your world go round. It balances out your emotional experience because you're harboring all of this trauma that you must gain distance from by projecting it onto another. So, unfortunately, rather than do the difficult work of breaking the cycle, many Black males choose to perpetuate the cycle by traumatizing a Black woman through narcissistic relationship. In many ways, the opportunity to put a Black woman through the ringer is a birthright. Remember, this feminine masculine has been told since he was young how fine he is and how women are going to adore him and throw themselves at him. And this is his only power. His best bet at feeling powerful is oppressing you, who, by the way, in his mind is an extension of his mother. So if you've ever found yourself in a relationship with one of these feminine masculines, it probably felt like he pulled you in and then pushed you away for the same reasons that he wanted you. Everything that attracted him to you in the beginning eventually causes him to reject you because you either remind him of his mother or you are a better woman than his mother and you remind him of everything that he can't do, doesn't know how to do, doesn't have access to, can't afford, won't achieve. So he brings you into his life to be a mother figure that he can safely abuse without sacrificing his true bread and butter, which is his dynamic with his mother. Deep down, this male has decided that he's not really going to break away from mom. He's never truly going to leave the nest. He's not going to branch out and create a life independent of her that requires him to be the adult, because doing the work of becoming that fully actualized adult man is too difficult. It's too demanding, confusing, painful, mysterious. So instead, he will temporarily attach to women and benefit from those relationships energetically before discarding them and returning to home base before starting all over again. This dynamic is an important one to center because I believe it is at the root of the disconnect between Black men and Black women in relationships. Part of the reason that Black men are able to distance themselves from the emotional suffering of the Black woman is they grew up being emotionally exploited by the woman that was supposed to teach them it was safe to love and be loved. So there were times when he experienced her suffering and it was false. It was manipulation. It was a tactic. It was a diversion. He learned early on that he couldn't trust the emotional spectrum of the Black woman because it would be weaponized against him. Because he was not encouraged to develop an identity, a voice, language for his feelings, especially negative ones directed at mom, his only emotional outlet most often was a tantrum, an outburst to act out in anger or frustration, and he was probably punished for that as well. So he's learned that it's not safe to express his emotions. They get him in trouble. They complicate the relationship with the narcissistic feminine who's going to use them to hold them over his head and manipulate him, to punish and shame him later on. So instead of engaging with his emotions, he bottles them, disengages from the relationship after acting out, and goes to live his real life, be his real self, express his real feelings apart from that feminine. His truest self, his freest experience happens away from the Black woman, which is why he runs to his boys because that feels safe. And when you are that unfortunate good woman who's dating this man, once he gets you exposed to his family dynamic and the women begin to attack you, you become so distracted and consumed with being abused by all these different people that he can politely step out and live his real life in the closet while convincing you that it's your fault, that it's nothing, uh, stirring up conflict within the community to keep you going. And he essentially has it made in the shade. He can live his private double life that suits him at your expense. So the way this plays out, if you are a people pleaser with no boundaries, who's already been abused by a narcissistic parent, when his narcissistic parent abuses you, when his family attacks you emotionally, instead of responding, you will freeze, you'll fawn, you'll silence yourself, and you'll begin to work to get back into the good graces that you were just taught were real and available to you. So over time, if you stay, slowly, one attack at a time, they work together to dim your light, drain your energy, lower your self-esteem, your perception of yourself. And by the time the narcissistic son is ready to discard you, you have lowered your internal value from where it initially was into the floor. So when he discards you, you are a shell of the woman that he met and reeled in with the Casanova Act. So when you get discarded and you're left out in the cold, worse off than you were when you met this man and he promised you the world, you will be desperate to get back into that dynamic with him, to get back into that loving relationship with the partner you thought you had, even though that person never existed. You will seek to heal the abandonment wound of being cast out of this family that you were just falsely gifted. And that kind of emotional supply keeps them all going until the next supply comes in. So in this family dynamic where nobody breaks the cycle, you essentially have a whirlpool of trauma and pain going around, because when they're not busy abusing you, they're attacking one another. Remember, mom is a narcissist, so that means she is triangulating her children against one another. Mom is teaming up with daughter against son, with son against daughter, and they team up with one another against her. So essentially, what everybody in the household learns is that you can't trust anybody, not even your own flesh and blood, because they're going to viciously attack you and try to destroy you and break your spirit. They're going to violate your boundaries. They're going to use your insecurities against you. And this is how we live. This is what love feels like. Love sometimes includes nasty comments that break your heart and leave you devastated. There are times in which it's appropriate to blindside your loved one with an emotional attack. Sometimes they deserve it. The way it works when you have a narcissistic parent, if they're in darkness and your light is bright, you essentially have a choice to leave and take your light with you so that it can survive out in the world, or stay with your mother in her darkness so that she can have your light, so that she can see. But the fine print is, if you do that, when she goes into the grave, she will take her light with you because she'll be attached to it. Because instead of being forced to cultivate her own light, to get to the root of her own darkness, she simply latched onto yours. And when she goes, you will be left in darkness like she was, trying to pick up the broken pieces of an identity you never really had because you never had a chance to recover from your trauma. So if you are trapped in this dynamic with a narcissistic mother and the guilt, the obligation is keeping you from going no contact, understand that if you choose to stay, you're subjecting yourself to a lived hell on earth. The only relief that you'll have from the pain of the emotional hellfire that you'll live in with your narcissistic parent is to torture another, is to bring someone else into the fire so that you can watch them suffer. And you have to be truly miserable to settle for a pastime of harming another when you could choose to do the work to be free and potentially give your narcissistic parent an out. Because the ability that we, the millennial generation of adult children of narcissists, have is to tell the truth that our parent was unable to process. This conversation, these conversations that we have about the Black narcissistic mother, they're not intended to bash or to blame anyone. These conversations are held within a context of healing, because if we are able to tell the truth, we are able to be set free. And now that we're adults, we must leverage our capacity to take responsibility for the reality that was left in the shadows of our childhood, not just continue to center the fantasy that was held in the light. Yes, you had good times, good feelings, good moments, good lessons with your mother. The thing to remember here is your mother is a Black woman. So, of course, she comes with a capacity for healing, for love, for comfort. She absolutely brought gifts and qualities to her role as a mother. The problem is, because mom is a narcissist, those gifts and capacities were used to control and abuse. Your demonstration of what it looks like to do the work, to recover, to be better, not just pursue better, but to actually get to the other side and achieve recovery, is the closest, most motivational example your mother's ever going to have. Your choice to go no contact and heal your identity from the trauma that she gave to you will be her undeniable indication that she can heal if she's willing to do the work. And at minimum, if she chooses not to do the work and she passes on in darkness, still bound by her trauma, still actively harming others, still resulting to manipulation and exploitation to get a semblance of love, understand that what goes with her is an inner child who was never centered, who was never loved, who never had a voice, who never found an outlet to express what happened to her. And while that is a sad reality, if that is what she chooses, at minimum, you will be able to move on with peace, knowing that you're responsible for delivering the good that was in her to this promised land of freedom. Every step you take on the other side of your recovery is partially her triumph. Every moment that you spend healed, whole, thriving, loving instead of hating, being vulnerable instead of controlling, unlearning toxic behaviors instead of clinging to them. Every single reparenting win that you experience is partially hers as well, because the part of her that goes with you wins that win also. And you may be the only part of her that ever experiences that freedom. If you choose to stay with her, to be the light in her world instead of lighting up your own, none of you ever get to freedom. You all perish in that same place of darkness, of pain and trauma that you recycle in your family dynamic. So there's nothing I can tell a Black man about being a Black man. But I can tell an adult child of a narcissist that your power lies on the other side of your no contact journey. If you're struggling with overcoming being infantilized by a parent, the mountain for you to climb is no contact. Going no contact will require you to fill in all the voids and gaps that she created in your identity. It will connect you with your masculinity, with your agency, with your confidence, with your ability to critically function in the world and show up as your own self. In my heart of hearts, I know that there are some Black boys who went to their rooms one day after one nasty, emasculating, heartbreaking betrayal of a comment by their mother, and they never came back. That innocent little boy who believed in the goodness and the unconditional love of his mother was never seen again, because he never trusted again. He never felt safe again. He never let his guard down again. And without the tools and the intention to retrieve that little boy and heal him, he will remain dormant in the adult male, hopping from one empty relationship to the next, going through the motions of appearing human to keep up expectations while being absolutely lost and miserable on the inside. The sooner this particular demographic of adult child of the narcissist is empowered to do their work, the sooner they will stop recycling their trauma through Black women. So if you are that adult male child of a Black narcissistic mother that I'm talking about, I extend love and empathy to you. And while I'm not the one to help you, because I will be staying firmly in my lane of working exclusively with Black women, there is one I can refer you to, and his name is Jesus. Seriously, I know that you have heard that before, but in all that I've come across to help me in my journey of recovery as an adult child of a narcissist who went no contact with PTSD and years of emotional trauma stacked up, the absolutely most beneficial element of my healing journey has been my personal relationship with God. And if you don't know Him for yourself, I encourage you to invite Him to partner with you in your life. He will absolutely deliver you from the hands of your abuser. He is good, He is faithful, and He is perfect as a parent, as a leader, as a teacher, as a friend, as a comfort, as a confidant. He is that missing piece. He is the X factor. So, any and everything that you're lacking, from finances to courage, He will provide for you. And if you are the Black woman who is the potential romantic target of this man, I certainly hope that you will be on the lookout for this little play that is in full effect and traumatizing Black women more than we talk about. And if you are the Black woman who is the potential target of this tactic we've discussed within the dynamic between the Black narcissistic mother and her son, I certainly hope that you embrace your boundaries because they will keep you safe in this situation. That is what they are for, and they will serve you so well. If you do the work of removing abusers from your life, including your narcissistic mother, and you put boundaries in place that keep you safe, they will protect you when the feminine masculine comes along trying to sacrifice you to his mom. You will see the red flags and you will prevent the play from moving forward. There's no way you're going to do the work of cutting off your own toxic, abusive parent only to let somebody else's narcissistic parent come in and try the same thing. Your spidey senses will tingle and you will see the red flags for what they are. With that said, I thank you so much for tuning in and allowing me to share this message with you. As always, I am Dani Ellison. I hope this helps.